Tips from Trestle, the Senior Living Food and Hospitality podcast, is brought to you by eMenuChoice Point of Sale and Clark Pro. Welcome to Tips from Trestle, the Senior Living Food and Hospitality podcast. This podcast explores the senior living industry with a unique focus on food, hospitality, and the community experience. I'm your host, Aaron Fish. My goal for this podcast: educate, inform, and inspire leaders in senior living. How? By bringing the resident and customer experience to the front of mind in our industry. We should bring the passionate spirit of food and hospitality to everything that we do and everyone we serve each and every day. So what are we waiting for? Let's get to it. Today on Tips from Trestle, I'm joined by the founder and CEO of the Senior Dining Association, Harris Ader. We're here live at the SDA Synergy Conference, and we're going to talk to him about everything that's happened and some of the really cool and unique sessions and activities here at the conference. So, Harris, thanks for taking time away during all of the chaos to chat with me.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. And thank you for doing your podcast live.
Yeah.
Smart show. This is the first for us.
No, well, and this has been fun. We've had a bunch of really great conversations. We've had people kind of walking by, looking at us funny, like, what are you doing? Like, this isn't normal. So I appreciate you having us. And so, obviously, everybody's had great things to say about the conference. I've loved every minute of it, but tell us a little bit about why the Senior Dining Association is unique to senior living versus some of the other conferences you hear about.
We're unique because it was built from somebody that was been in the industry for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And so a need to bring our people together. Being a food service professional in senior living, I fell in love. And there's a lot of resources out there, but they weren't all for dining. And it was time for dining to have its own resources and come together as a community. And that's what we are. We're a community that serve a special population.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing is like, it sounds like a marketing spiel, but when I talked to everybody else and did the podcast, that was very much what they were saying was like, this is special for us because what we do is unique. And sometimes we get left out, and there's all the different things you just talked about are really kind of, everybody sees the value in that. And so the other thing I really like about this conference is you don't have the same approach to it as other associations. Like you go to a conference, you got your breakout sessions, you got your big speakers, you do all those kinds of, there's an expo, but there are things that you guys do that are unique. And so one of them, which was kind of cool because yesterday we had the solar eclipse, you had peer group conversations. Then it was kind of a come out and experience the eclipse, but also let's talk about the space. Let's talk about the industry. And so I'd love for you to kind of talk a little bit about why you do that and where the value in that comes from.
Collaboration is so important within our industry, and collaborating with your peers is just as important. I mean, that's really, you're in it together.
Mm-hmm.
So we developed the peer groups last year, and we asked one question, and it's the same question we ask every year: what keeps you up at home? Right?
Yeah.
What can we solve together? What can we share? What's a best practice with your peer? And we were lucky enough to do it in a wonderful setting this year under the eclipse with everyone wearing their glasses.
Yeah.
We had a great photo, but having those beginning conversations, which leads to today's conversation that we did also that's been unique. And this has always been my approach to training and developing, especially when I was in the industry as an operator.
Right.
I'd bring my teams together to talk about what we're doing, how can we solve together. Instead of one person listening to one person, you listen to 20, 30, 40 people.
Yeah. Because, one of the things I find unique is a lot of times you go to a conference and it's like, okay, well, you've got like 2 or 3 layers where it's like, okay, you got an executive director and a regional director and maybe some executives, and that's the group. Here, I've seen executives, I've seen VPs of food service. We have a VP of amenities we interviewed, totally different role. Yeah. And then there's sous chefs. I've talked to a couple of the sous chefs here, and these are people who don't normally get to experience a conference, but because this is it's layered and there's a respect of everybody's opinion when you have those collaborative approaches, I think it enhances the value of the conference for sure.
Oh, absolutely. The rising stars, especially I call them the rising stars, front of house managers or sous chefs and people that are working those mid-level management positions. The rising stars are so important because they're going to take that next level.
Yeah.
Your company has invested in them to come here and learn and be with their peers. And it makes a difference in their development. Seeing the people from the past come here, it's been amazing.
So, Harris, one of the other things that's really great, we talked a little bit about having all the different level of staff here. When you're putting together those panels of experts, you're not just limiting it to executives, right? Those people that have like big communities or big operations. You've got dining directors and chefs and everybody who's maybe even on the ground floor with doing the doing as a part of those expert panels. And so, what kind of message does that send to the association members when they see that?
We collaborate just as much on the education as we do here at the conference collaborating. Right. So I reach out to our members and say, are you interested in being part of Synergy? Are you interested in partaking? And we have conversations.
Yeah.
And those conversations lead to what is our schedule. And maybe you're presenting, moderating, being a panelist. Being from an operator's point of view and being a former chef, being a director, being in every single one of these shoes that I've stepped in, well, I can hear the best practices from our conversations. I can tell what's hot. We had the sustainability panel today, and everybody was on about the food digester.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I on about the food digester too when I first heard of it. I also thought about a couple of other things that I first heard of that you guys haven't heard of yet.
Yeah.
That's coming up this afternoon and tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
So that's the cool part is that as a community, having these conversations matter. And if people are their subject matter at doing this one thing or two things, why not include?
Technology continues to drive changes in senior care, and that includes food service. eMenuChoice is an award-winning point-of-service application for managing the dining function in senior living communities. This mobile, touchscreen-enabled software enhances the dining experience for residents while streamlining processes for staff. The flexibility and functionality of eMenuChoice makes it an effective solution for any type of senior living environment, from independent and assisted living to skilled nursing facilities. It works for production kitchens or restaurant-style service with options for per meal or a la carte pricing and accommodates a variety of payments, including bill to account, meal credits, and credit cards. Created by a senior care provider with more than a century of experience serving older adults, eMenuChoice eliminates communication barriers between staff and residents while enabling person-centered choices and greater resident satisfaction. eMenuChoice, transforming dining for senior living.
Yeah, I love that it's who's doing the practice, the best practice, and then let them come and share. And, it's so valuable to learn from a dining director who's doing something that maybe I haven't even thought about or haven't experienced yet because I'm just busy doing something else. It's such a cool thing. And so one of the other things is the expo, right? Like we're here in the expo doing the interviews and we've seen all the traffic. It's unique because a lot of the expos you go to at associations, some people are kind of like, well, I don't know if I'm going to talk to them. They kind of drive by. That's not really the experience here. I feel like there's a lot more engagement and people feel like there's a lot more value to be brought because of it. And so I'd love you to talk a little bit about the vendors and the support they provide and how invaluable it can be for a conference like this.
It's so valuable, the vendor support. It really is. It's their products that make us the industry that goes around and around and around, right? If it wasn't, it's a symbiotic relationship, right? everybody wants to make it better together. And the technology that has been here this year,
Yeah.
unbelievable. And it's not just about POS.
Yeah.
It's more efficiencies now, menus, it's recipes, it's efficiencies on checklists, and you still make cool things,
Yeah.
right? On the technology. And then you also have sustainability vendors that are helping us because as an industry, we're growing, and sustainability should be part of each and every one of our communities.
Yeah.
Right? As we grow, sustainability is huge. But the food also, we have our food manufacturers and our beverage manufacturers and our equipment manufacturers all to deal with senior living dining. But it's not about feeding, it's about the experience, as we heard earlier today.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Love that line. Well, thanks. Are we dining or it's the experience?
What are we doing? Yeah. And it's interesting because you brought up experience. And I think that's something that there's a layer that's here because, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but you're dealing with people who have that mindset, right? So it's like, how do you wow them? Right. And you've done a pretty good job of that with, lunch yesterday. We had a great award ceremony. We were able to represent the industry, but then there was the magic show that was a part of it. It's like, let you get away for a little bit so that way you can deal with it.
Yeah.
So we're day 2 of 3 or day 3 of 4. I know it's such a long week, but a great week. So we know we've got workforce development still to touch on. I was talking with Milton McGowan earlier on a podcast. And so we're looking forward to that. And so, but obviously Synergy is not the only thing you guys do throughout the year. So what can members and potential members, what can we look for the rest of the year from SDA for supporting the industry?
So, we have a lot of stuff going on this year and really methodical on our education that we're presenting in our collaboration. So we go virtual as well. We have our webinars monthly, and you're doing a couple for us as well. That's coming up in the next, actually in May, we have one coming up with yourself for our accountant, food and beverage accounting. But every month we have our peer group.
Yeah.
And we're also going to have our SDA chats as well. And these are roundtable discussions. Again, we're taking everything from Synergy and doing it virtually also. But in June, we have our SDA Virtual Expo, which is going to be 2 days of education, event vendor booths also, but also roundtable discussions. And maybe if you haven't gone to Synergy, come to the Virtual Expo. You'll hear some of the speakers from Synergy there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll get a lot of experience. And then we're going to be actually in Vegas for our symposium and executive chef training experience.
Yeah.
Which has been an amazing team building experience. The symposium is October 16th to the 18th, same with the chef experience, but it brings together team building experience like no other. The focus for the symposium is bringing people from all facets of senior living, not just the directors of dining, but HR professionals, the executive directors, the VPs of operations, the C-level as well, coupled with the chef experience. 2 different programs, solving workforce on one and culture change, giving experiences and education to the chefs on another, and then the team building happens at night. It was amazing last year. People from last year attended this year, and they just couldn't stop talking about it with everyone. And we just want to have another great event. And you're going to be taking care of the chefs at this training.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be a first time for yourself too, but we have a great agenda.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a great lineup of education. And so, Harris, I know you've got 10,000 things going on, but thanks for taking some time for us. Thanks for putting on another great Synergy conference. And we will catch up with you later in the year and learn more about what's going on.
Sounds great. Thank you for doing the first podcast at Synergy. We appreciate it, putting the word out and just making it better for the industry.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harris, for joining us on Tips from Trestle.
Thank you.
So there it is, everybody. Another one in the books. Thanks again for tuning in. Please follow, like, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us on social media at Tips from Trestle. You You can also learn more about the work I do by following me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. And be sure to check out Trestle Hospitality Concepts at www.trestle. I'm your host, Aaron Fish, and this has been another episode of Tips from Trestle.